Hello, and welcome to episode 24 of Generation GC, California, The Way I Say I Love You, from Generation RX, which is Good Charlotte's 2018 7th studio album, which is also their most recent album. My guest this week is Alissa Gardner. Last week, we talked about life changes from Youth Authority, and next week, we'll be back with a song from the band's self-titled album, Good Charlotte. Alissa is a huge fan of music, especially live music. She listens to and plays mainly alternative rock, but she does try to branch out further here and there. She's a longtime Good Charlotte fan, as they are her favorite band. Alissa doesn't work in the music industry. She currently makes a living as a registered dental hygienist, but maybe one day she'll explore that. Alissa also plays the drums and is working on getting back into guitar, but she says that drums are more fun. Some things I wanted to mention. Please visit, as I continue to mention, antisemitism.car.co and blacklivesmatter.car.co to learn more about anti-Semitism and the Black Lives Matter movement, respectively. We need to speak out against all forms of injustice. I'm not trying to pretend anything is equal or that they're the same, but there's a lot to speak out against, and I think it's worth bringing up multiple issues. I bring up anti-Semitism because I see a lot on TikTok and Instagram, for example. It's a lot on TikTok, though, where, a Jew will post just anything about being Jewish and then immediately get comments saying free Palestine, or even threats or incredibly hateful comments quite frequently about Palestine. Or you'll see people duetting a video that a Jew made, or they post something on Instagram that's just really hateful towards Jews and Judaism. And I just wanted to remind everyone that Jews are not Israel, and Jews are not responsible for the actions of the Israeli government. So let's separate our conversation of how you feel about Jews from how you feel about Israel and the conflict in the Middle East, because they're separate things. It's August 30th as I record this. George Floyd died over 3 months ago, and there have been a lot of protests all over the country, all over the world, really, but still, Black people are shot and killed by police all the time. Even if someone does commit a crime, people will say, oh, so-and-so was innocent, and they still got shot. But that's not even the point, because even if someone does commit a crime, that does not mean they should be shot and killed. And there's a huge difference in how Black people are treated compared to white people in this country. The recent incidents in Kenosha, Wisconsin, involving Jacob Blake, a 29-year-old Black man who was shot as he tried to enter a car, and per a lawyer, he's now paralyzed from the waist down. And Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old white man who has been accused of shooting multiple people and was treated much differently. He was not shot despite carrying an AR-15, which is a very serious weapon. I think that's a perfect example of two people being treated quite differently because of their race. There are videos of both Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse, but warning that something like that is very upsetting to watch, so you do not have to watch it. I'm not going to link those videos. I have not watched that because I find it very upsetting to see that violence play out, but it's important to keep educating yourself, to know what's going on, and to continue speaking up against systemic racism and work on unlearning your own internal biases. And, if you're someone that's in a position of any kind of power, to say, okay, what can I do to make sure there's not any kind of racial issues at play here? And I'm also going to include in the show notes the petition that I've been sharing to save the USPS. As I continue to say with that, the USPS is vital for small businesses and creators to send out their products. And that includes your favorite music photographers that want to send out prints to everyone. That includes independent magazines that print like a very small number of issues and just mail it to the people who subscribe. That includes record labels, independent record labels that mail out vinyl and CDs, and it includes bands that are sending out their merch. So the USPS, yeah, it's pretty important. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? 2 things you can do. Number 1, go to anchor.fm/generationgcpod, POD, click support, and support the show. And that helps me sustain the show and have the right equipment, headphones, and adapters, and cords, and microphones, as well as do things like print stickers and get them mailed to you. And I'm a much smaller scale than, any of those businesses or independent creators I may have mentioned above. But yeah, I use the USPS to mail stickers. So please sign the petition too. Number 2, you can donate to a charitable organization. Don't donate to change.org, because that money then just goes to change.org. But there are a lot of great organizations listed at blacklivesmatters.card.go that you can donate to. So you're going to support the show on Anchor or donate to a charity, and then you're going to send me a screenshot and your mailing address. You can DM me on Twitter or Instagram at GenerationGCPod, POD, or email generationgcpod@gmail.com, and then I will mail you stickers. I will also occasionally tweet or post on the Instagram story about other ways you all can get stickers, whether that's good deeds you can do or ways to help spread the word about the show, so make sure you're following. Well, that's about it for our intro. Thank you for tuning in, and now on to our episode.
All right, so California, The Way I Say I Love You is track 9 on Good Charlotte's 7th album, Generation RX. It's the final track on the album, and this is their most recent album. California follows Better Demons, and it's a really nice note to end the album on, right? The album is definitely dark, it's intense, but this helps it end on, I think, a very positive note. And this is also definitely a deep cut. I don't believe they've ever played it live. Was not a single, didn't get a video or anything. So this is a deep cut, which is always fun to talk about those songs, because the big songs, the singles, it's like, okay, everyone's talking about those, right? Not everyone's talking about the deeper cuts. But before we get into that, Alissa, I want to help our audience get to know you.
Dude.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show, Alissa. I know we've had a lot of people that you are friends with on the show, so yep. I am so glad you could be on the show. So
yeah, I'm super excited to be here. This is cool. This is fun.
Yeah. So when did you first hear Good Charlotte, and what were your first thoughts on them?
So I heard Good Charlotte before I actually heard them. So this is kind of weird.
I love hearing these stories, by the way.
This is super random. But so when I was a little kid, I had a crush on an older boy. It was one of my brother's best friends. And he was at the bus stop. So I was probably like 6 or 7, like super, super young. So we're at the bus stop and he was singing this song, and it was Little Things. And I had never actually heard the song, but I started singing the song too, just because he sang it a lot.
Just because he sang it without having actually heard the song before. Wait, how old were you?
I would have been like 6 or 7 at the time.
Okay, so you were little.
Like pretty much just singing the chorus to the song, because I didn't really know anything.
Sure.
I was young. So then like a year or 2 later, Young and the Hopeless comes out. And I had heard the anthem and Lifestyles from my brother and his friends, playing these songs. And I was like, I love this band. This is awesome. Like, it was so new to me, from the Britney Spears, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys type stuff. So I had heard those songs.
Did you make the connection that this was the same band that did Little Things right away?
No. So I convinced my mom to buy me the album, because I was like, oh, I love this band. Yeah. And then, oh my God, fell in love with Young and the Hopeless, and then went back and saw that there was another album, the self-titled. And I was like, that is that song. Oh my God. And I was like, so amazed that it was the same band. And
so
yeah, I was like, yeah, for hearing Little Things for the first time, like from true Good Charlotte, not just singing at the bus stop. Oh my God, my life was like, whoa.
I'd love that. So Alissa, I understand that you are someone like myself that you love live music. So, like, what was the first concert you went to, or at least what was the concert that for you were like, okay, this is it?
So my first concert was Good Charlotte.
Love it.
It was the Noise to the World tour.
Yep,
I was
same.
I was
Okay,
11.
Technically not my first ever concert, but it was the one that was like the first one that was a band I liked.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was my first show ever, first concert experience. I had begged for a couple years to go, like, to see them, and my mom was like, "You're 9 years old, like, you're not seeing Good Charlotte, like, obviously." And so then, I was heavily into Simple Plan, and the tour came around, and I was like,
"Yep,
you know what? I'm 11 years old, like, I'm ready."
I'm a grown up.
I was such a grown up.
Double
like,
digits.
I can do this. Yeah. So she was like, "Well, I'm not taking you. You got to find somebody to go with." And I'm like, I don't know anyone. Like, no one's gonna take me. And so then there was this kid at school. We happened to both like Good Charlotte. We both played the snare drum in band class together. And so he was like, "Oh, I think my dad's girlfriend likes Good Charlotte. We could probably talk them into taking us." And so, yeah, we kind of conned our way into it, and got to go to a show with little 11-year-old kids, little pop punk rebellious kids.
So, at age 11, because I was about 13, I think, when I went to that tour, and I was like, I know for me being that age, I was like, "Wow, that mosh pit looks so cool," but I'm too young. So were you anywhere near like the pits?
Oh my God. I'm still pissed to this day. So I was very tall for my age. And the kid that I went with was very short. So we got there pretty early, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're going to get in the pit. Like, we're going to have a really good spot. Well, his parents were like, "No, you guys have to sit off to the side." So it was like a arena tour, like a smaller arena tour. So yeah, we had to sit off to the side in like the stands. But I got up and, I remember getting in the stairway and like just going crazy. And, obviously I didn't stay in my seat.
Right.
Like I did not follow the rules. Like,
So have you since become someone who likes mosh pits, or are you still like off to the side?
No, I definitely like pits. Not so much like Good Charlotte. I don't know. Like, I don't think I've ever gotten into an actual mosh pit at a Good Charlotte show. But yeah, other shows. Yeah, I do like to be in the pit and mosh to some metal and stuff like that. I've gotten knocked down a few times, and it's always fun.
What's the craziest pit you've ever been in?
The craziest pit. Ooh, that is a hard one. Okay, so Rock on the Range in 2017.
That's in Ohio, right?
That's in Ohio. Yeah, that one of the craziest pits I was in. Korn was the headliner that night, and it was just like Papa Roach, like the Offspring, like a super stacked lineup. And so my brother and I were there, and we got third from the barricade for Korn set. And I remember like being so, because those pits are like massive. There's like thousands and thousands of people. And I got so smashed that my feet were off the ground, and like I ended up passing out while being upright, and it was just insane.
My God.
Yeah, it was so much fun, but it was wild. Like that was a fun festival.
Yeah, I've never been to, because like I went to Warped Tour a bunch of times. I did Billboard Fest a couple of times. That's out on Long Island. I did Mayhem Fest once. And I did Riot Fest a couple times. Oh, and I did FYF. I did FYF Fest, which was like indie. I was working that fest a few years ago, but I've never been to like a Rock on the Range type show, and they sound like insane in a good way. Oh my
God. Yeah, no, like they're insane. So much fun. Like they're very different than like Warped Tour and stuff. Louder Than Life is another fun one that I've been to, but sometimes they get really hot. The Midwestern summers are kind of rough.
Yeah. So since we're talking about concerts, I figured we'd commiserate together a little bit. So what concerts is coronavirus making you miss out on right now?
Oh, the Rona took away. I had a floor ticket for Rage Against the Machine in Chicago. And it was a face value ticket. It wasn't scalped or anything.
Don't tour that much, right?
No, this was like their comeback, tour, and they were getting back together and everything. And yeah, I worked super hard to get that ticket. You know, we had like multiple phones and computers going, and then it just, you know, got ripped out from underneath me. So I don't think I'll ever get over that, like, ever.
So that's canceled? It's not like rescheduled?
It was rescheduled for like a year later. So
Right.
I just ended up getting my money back for the ticket, you know, because you don't know what's going on in a year.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I have a ticket for My Chemical Romance, which like
Ooh.
in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey, which is going to be insane. Hometown show.
Oh God, yeah.
Got pushed, paid an exorbitant amount of money for like not a great seat, but got pushed back about a year. But my thought, it was like, I'll keep it for now. And if I have to sell it at any point, I'll probably make bank. If I have to, I'll make bank. But Alissa, something else I wanted to talk about, which I saw on your Instagram today, which was very cool to see this little video, but you are also a musician. You play drums, and I know you also play guitar, and you were talking about being in the school band. So, I mean, how long have you been playing music?
Well, so I played the snare drum in 5th grade band class, which I don't even think that really counts, but
totally counts.
I mean, that was when I was really getting into music more. And I remember I got my first guitar when I was 11 for Christmas. So yeah, that's kind of when I really started. I took some guitar lessons. I didn't really keep up with it. I got pushed more into sports as a kid. And looking back, I definitely wish I would have stuck with music more. You know, it's always been there for me. And that's, you know, something that's pretty common with Good Charlotte fans. But yeah, so here in the last year, I took some drum lessons and immediately fell in love with it.
Cool.
I've been in and out of, you know, the relationship with the guitar for years. You know, I'll pick it up and then I'll put it down and all that stuff. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a couple drum lessons, just like see. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is so much fun.
So why drums?
You know, I don't really know. Like, I've just always had this, I don't know, kind of thing for them. I just love them. They're fun to play. Like, you know, just hitting something after coming home after a long day of work and like just literally hitting something while playing music. That's therapy for me.
Yeah. Okay. I could see it. So do you ever, I mean, obviously the school band as well in the past, but pre-coronavirus, were you doing any kind of performances, or was it mostly just like at home?
No, just like at home for fun. I mean, I think it'd be cool to get together and play sometime, like a show, or, you know, just jamming with people. I mean, Corona kind of threw everything, you know, for a loop. But yeah, no, in the future, I've definitely, you know, I've had a lot of time to think and reflect on stuff in life. And I'm like, yeah, this might be something, you know, I want to kind of explore more.
Yeah. Why not? Well, okay, so you did post a video on your Instagram today of you playing a Good Charlotte song on the drums. So I don't know if that's my answer, but what are your favorite Good Charlotte songs to play on drums or guitar, if you know any on guitar?
So I came across, I was just on YouTube and I came across, there's like a drumless track, you know, to play along to, because I normally just play like to, you know, the regular songs and just whatever. But I saw they have a couple of them. They're actually pretty good quality. So I was like, oh, I'll, you know, record it with my crummy iPhone, you know, in my garage, which the sound is like terrible. And, you know, it's super, super low quality. Like, this is not professional at all. But I was just, you know, having fun and just, I don't know, messing around. But no, playing Good Charlotte songs, yeah, anything off of The Young and the Hopeless is super fun.
Sure.
And Good Morning Revival as well. You know, they have those dance type beats. So
yeah,
those get really fun to play. I don't think I've really ever gotten to a Good Charlotte song on guitar though. Not that I know of. Oh, well, I guess no, that's wrong. When I was younger, I had the tab book for Young and the Hopeless.
I had that too.
Yes, I think everyone had that.
Yeah. I could do Seasons on my acoustic, because that's like pretty simple.
Yeah.
And I could do like a little bit of little things. I think I could do a little bit of Hold On.
Yeah.
My guitar ability is kind of tapped out at like Seasons or Good Riddance by Green Day or Wonderwall.
Yeah,
But
right. Yeah. No, I get that.
It's cool though, because when I talk to people like you, or we had someone on recently that plays guitar, it makes me like, I still have my guitar and it makes me like, itch to really pick it back up.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So, Alissa, you had reached out to me a little while ago, just as I was getting this show started, since you know Kelly, of course. And I think I had told her, I was like, Kelly, tell all your friends to email me.
Yeah.
So you reached out to me and you told me that this is actually your current all-time favorite, which made me very happy because a lot of times people kind of default to older tracks as their favorite. So I love hearing someone mention a newer track as their favorite. So what makes California, The Way I Say I Love You, your favorite Good Charlotte song?
Yeah. So, that kind of surprised myself too when I heard the song. It was just immediately like, it was just like the one. When I first heard the song, I had moved to California, Los Angeles, a couple months prior. So
are you still in LA?
No, well, I have everything in a storage unit in Los Angeles, but I am present in my hometown in Indiana right now.
Cool.
So due to the current situation, everything is kind of super chaotic right now.
Yep.
But yeah, I had moved to Los Angeles. I had wanted to move there since I was a little kid.
Same.
And I had finally done it. And, I had a lot of stress and, I was very close with my mom when I had moved out there. And this song just kind of reminded me of her and being home and, kind of branching out on my own and kind of trying to find what I want to do with my life and where I belong. Exactly. And all those, things that go right along with the song.
I love that. So you did answer, I think, a little bit there, but I want to talk about like what the song means. Both what you feel as like your interpretation, as well as like because sometimes there's songs where I'm like, okay, well, this is my interpretation and I feel like the band meant something else, but this is how I see it.
Right. I love that about music. Like a band can write a song and it can be intended for this way, but as a listener, you are free to interpret that song however you want to and make it your own. And like, that's just like the beauty of music is even though it's intended one way, make it your own and however it relates to you and what resonates with you is just awesome.
Yes. No, I love that, Alissa. Exactly. I do not have children. I am very far in my life from having children, and quite frankly, I don't necessarily think I ever will.
Same.
But I like this song. I think it's really sweet. To me, it's like, no matter where you go, your hometown, your family, they'll still be here for you. You could go, you could travel, you could move away. He wants his kids to go out and take on the world, but he wants them to know that California, which is their hometown, is going to be there for them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I feel that.
But reading into this a little more specifically, to me, it seems like maybe, the kid he's singing to, it's kind of sad, has been maybe left out at school, and forget the ones who let you go, forget those ones, they don't know you, which to me, that's like, you're a kid and maybe some stuff isn't going well, you're not feeling like you fit in, and you're just really needing to lean on your parents.
I totally get that.
Yeah. So Joel has 2 kids, 10 and 12. Billy's kids are like 7 and 11. Paul's kids are also around that age, like 8 and 9 or so. Benji's daughter is like a newborn. I think she was born Radix. She was born in January. I don't think Dean has kids. I didn't see anything, so I'm not sure, but I don't think he does. Very timely for today, and I can't wait to hear it, but there was a Rolling Stone piece with, I think it was with Cameron Diaz, where she was saying that like Benji was apparently writing songs for their kids.
Oh yeah, I read that today, that little Rolling Stone article about her wine. I want to try it. Side note.
Yeah. So I'm excited to hear those.
Yeah.
You know, Benji and Joel obviously being twins, but Joel being the one that had kids so many years first. And they've written a couple songs about Joel's kids. So I kind of want to, because I re-listened to these today as well. So let's compare a little bit some of these other songs that Joel has written about his kids with California.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is Harlow's song.
Harlow's song and Standing Ovation, I'm pretty sure, was also written about his kids.
Was it? I can see that. Yeah, thinking about that. I haven't heard that song for a minute, but yeah, I can see that.
So Harlow's song from Cardiology, Standing Ovation also from Cardiology, but Harlow's song, I mean, obviously Harlow was very, very, very little at this point. This was over 10 years ago, but so I can see why these two songs are so different, right? Because, you know, in the one instance, the child is like a toddler, and now she's like a preteen. A
preteen. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Crazy. But Harlow's song is very protective. It's like, I'm watching over you, I'm protecting you, I'm taking care of you. And then here, this one is like, okay, I can set you free a little bit.
It's changed. It's crazy. I mean, gosh, all the years between those two songs. Wow. Yeah, you can hear the difference in them.
Yeah. Standing Ovation, it's like, that song to me is very celebratory. It's like, I'm pretty sure that was written about his kids, although it's not as like explicitly, like if you listen to it and you didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would pick it up.
I don't think the average listener would pick that up.
No, and like I love Standing Ovation. That's one of my favorite songs from Cardiology, but I didn't pick that up until I like read something about that. I also noted that Youth Authority before this also ended with kind of a slower song, Moving On. But they don't always end with a slow song. Like let's go through it. Okay. Self-Titled ended with Change / Thank You Mom, both of which are slow songs.
Slow, yep.
Young and the Hopeless ends with Moving On, which like that's going to be a whole episode talking about why they have two songs with the same name.
Yeah.
But that's a fast song. That is a fast song.
Yes.
Chronicles ends with, well, I guess, I don't know. What are we saying is the last song of Chronicles? Is it Wounded? Is it Falling Away / Meet My Maker?
Meet My Maker? I guess it depends on what you...
Because Falling Away and Meet My Maker are both fast songs, but Wounded is like very slow.
Yeah. And I'm like, and that was before the digital age. So like you really had to listen to the song, you know, on your CD to get to Wounded. You couldn't just go right to Wounded. You had to either fast forward or find it. It was not as easy as it is nowadays.
Yeah.
I would say Wounded would be the last song. I don't know why, but I would pick that.
Cause it is the last song, technically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's slow. Cardiology ends with Cardiology. Good Morning Revival ends with March On. So, okay, I guess a lot of their albums end with slow songs, but not all of them. Not all. I don't know. I like this song to end the album, though, and we'll talk about some reviews in a bit, but Youth Authority, I love Youth Authority. It's so high energy. It's very emotional and sentimental to me. It was like, oh my God, like the band is back. We're excited. We're celebrating it. This album is more introspective. It's a little angrier. It's questioning things a little more. So I like that they ended things with this, because ending the album with a song like this makes it feel like, okay, I'm not going away from this feeling just totally miserable. It leaves you with a lot more hope and possibly optimism.
Yeah, I think this song on being the last track on this album, it's a very peaceful ending. Like it's not necessarily happy, not super sad. It's just very peaceful, and you just feel like, oh, okay, this was an album. You know, it leaves you with that feeling of peace, I feel like.
Exactly. I found a great interview. So we cited this in the episode on Cold Song that came out just yesterday as we're recording this, but Joel did an interview with Rock Art Fashion, which is a French website.
Okay.
So the interview was originally in French. My French is not good enough to like read a band interview and understand what it's saying. So I translated it back to English.
Okay.
I also am not sure if Joel speaks French. So like, I don't know if this was a situation in which Joel and the interviewer had a conversation in French and they posted it as is, or if it was like they had a conversation in English and the writer translated it to French because she runs a French website. So probably
yeah, I'm gonna go out on a wild limb here and say that no, Joel does not speak French fluent enough to have an interview with someone.
Right. So listeners, probably quite a lot has gotten mixed up in translation. That being said, this interview was fantastic. It was super detailed, and I felt like it got into a lot of details that a lot of other interviews about this album missed. So that was very, very cool. So in this interview, Joel cites Cold Song and California as more important to him, or the most important to him on this album. I guess he wrote both of those songs for his kids. So for that reason, they are the most important songs to him.
I did not pick up Cold Song as written for his kids, but okay.
No, I mean, I was just doing the episode on Cold Song and had read parts of this interview too, and didn't necessarily pick up on that either. But I mean, Cold Song I think is very, life can be very painful. It can be very difficult. It's gonna hurt, but you can get through it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting though, because I think at first they were, on the first record they had Motivation Proclamation about just being really depressed. They had a bunch of songs about high school and just not fitting in. Right. So they were like, they're kind of going from like writing about their own experiences of not doing well and struggling to songs like Hold On or even Let the Music Play that were written for the fans to now writing for their kids. I think it's cool to kind of see that progression.
It is.
So later in this interview, Joel says, and again, listeners, this has like been translated probably back and forth. So I'm even anything I read as quotes, probably not an exact quote of exactly what was said in the conversation. But the interviewer asks if the title of the song is his declaration of love to California, and he says that it is, and that he used the idea of California because it is something very dear to me. To pause and go to, like, I found a different interview back in 2002, which, man, reading these old blog website interviews with Good Charlotte from like this in this case, it was Warped Tour 2002. It was Joel and Paul on modernfix.com. And so the band were like sort of promoting The Young and the Hopeless on Warped Tour, but the album hadn't come out yet. So this was like right before they blew up, and it's so fun reading these types of interviews from the band that from so long ago. But in this interview from all the way back in 2002, Joel said he would have rather grown up in California. So you can see, I don't know exactly when he moved, but I don't think it was long after that, because I think by Chronicles, he and Benji were both in LA, although I'm not positive.
I feel like that's true. I feel like there was an old episode of like MTV Cribs or something, and I feel like that makes sense.
In this interview with Rock Art Fashion, Joel goes on to say that he's talking about his daughter, Harlow. Someday she'll go away, and I want her to be free to go and do whatever she wants to do and be who she wants to be. But I also wanted her to know that California will always be there and that she can always come home. Talking about how you can go out and explore and you can find yourself and feel free to be what you want to be and do what you want, but I would always be here for you and show you the way to get home. This idea of California, this place where I came and I found myself and I became who I wanted to be. I built my own family with my own rules and our own values without being chained to certain ideas or systems or beliefs that control what we accept or what we like. Yeah. I love that.
I absolutely love that. I mean, I totally get that and feel that. I mean, California and Los Angeles and that whole city, I mean, you can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
You can find yourself by getting lost in the city. No one, it's not that small Midwest town vibe. You can do whatever and people aren't judging you, and you can mind your own business, and it's very freeing out there.
Yeah, I have always kind of dreamed of moving out there. Obviously, reality is currently happening, but
right.
I live in New Jersey, and I grew up in an area, and I'm still in an area that people like commute from where I live to New York every day for work.
Wow.
It's a schlep. Like it's an expensive commute, and it's like a hard commute, but it's expensive to like own housing in New York. So
yes,
especially, families that have a couple kids, you can get into good schools in the suburbs. So, you make it work. But to me, like having New York right there, I was like, wow, New York's amazing. But it was always like, New York is right here.
Mm-hmm.
So California, Los Angeles to me was always the place I saw as like, well, that's where I want to go to.
Yeah.
I did not go to college in California. I had like gotten into some schools in California, but it just didn't work out financially and stuff. I went to school in the Midwest in Cleveland, Ohio, actually. And I remember thinking like, there are people at this school that have like barely ever left Ohio, have never been west of Chicago or east of like Pittsburgh.
Yes. I mean, I went to school in Indiana, a public state school, for financial reasons. I mean, there's a lot of East Coast kids that would come to Midwestern schools. That's kind of, the stereotype. But I mean, there's so many people like where I'm from, they never get out, they live in the same small town where they were raised. They're they get married and have kids, and it's just like this cycle, over and over again. And no one ever really gets out.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people where I grew up, it was like, you grow up in the suburbs in New Jersey, and this was like a thing, and it was a thing with like my parents and like their generation too. It was like, you grow up in New Jersey, you go far away for college, you move to New York City after graduation, and then you move back to the suburbs when you're like getting married to have kids. Although I've never lived in New York, nor am I married and having kids. It's just I happen to get a job in the suburbs.
Yeah.
But I think about like, I love warm weather I do not like the winter. I really do not like the winter and cold.
Yes.
I also do not like rain. So I obviously had a terrible time with the weather living in Ohio for 4 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to move to LA was the weather alone. Was a major plus. I hate the cold, rain. I get really bad seasonal depression in the Midwest. And the first year I moved out to California, I didn't get that. And I just felt like I was in a permanent summer. Local LA people had like hats and gloves on, and I'm like, I have shorts. Like clearly I was not the new kid in town, but. I love the weather out there. It's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think about it. I'm like, man, like in a perfect world, I would just, when my lease is up, I would just go out there this fall. Yeah. But, it's tough. It's definitely not an ideal time to be, moving across the country at all. And
yeah.
Especially working in entertainment, which is, I mean, every field is hit by
yes
COVID, but I think entertainment is definitely very, very hard hit. So it's like, like I have a job here in entertainment,
Right. Yeah, I don't blame you on that one. It's scary times for all of us. Yeah. Of making a big move right now across the U.S. Do not recommend it right now.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe the right opportunity will happen. Alissa, do you have any like memories or specific stories you want to share about this song?
Yeah. So I have a tattoo that goes with this song.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So, when the album came out in 2018, Kelly, who was on the show, and we went to the album release party in Hollywood, which was really fun.
I love that.
Good Charlotte played a couple songs, and we actually talked to Benji afterwards about the upcoming album. It hadn't come out yet, so he was talking about it. It was just really, cool conversation. And then the next day, a group of us, we had went to the James Corden show. So it's like Good Charlotte and the Dr. Phil thing. I don't know if you ever
I know it. And I have another story about that I'll tell you after we finish recording.
Okay.
It's not something I can share with you.
Right. So that was a lot of fun. We did that. And that was the day of the album release. So we went out to dinner afterwards because you have to get dressed up for James Corden. I don't know if you've ever done like a taping of a show or anything. No. That was my first time doing it. So I guess you have to wear like fancy clothes. So we all wore like dresses and like heels and, dressed up a little bit. And so we went out to a fancy dinner that evening in LA, and we came back to my apartment, and we had a little album listening party thing, and it was a lot of fun. And then the next day, which I guess that was technically the first day, because it comes out like Thursday night, but it's technically the Friday. So then that Friday we went to down to Amoeba Records and like bought all the Gen RX albums, and then we were talking about obviously California. The song, I was like, oh my God, I instantly love this song. And the lyrics, don't forget California, she's always there waiting for you. A group of us, Ashley Rayburn, who was on the show previously, and Alex Silva, we were kind of bouncing stuff, ideas off each other. I'm like, I don't know if I want to get like the outline of California with the lyrics around it. And they started coming up with ideas, and Ashley ended up drawing it out. And so it has the lyrics as the outline of California.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And it has a little heart where Los Angeles is. And I have that on my leg. And
that is so cool.
Yeah. We all went together and got it. And it was fun. We had a few like Good Charlotte days back to back, and we just had a lot of fun when that album came out.
That is so fun. I love that. I love hearing about people's tattoos. And Ashley, as you know, Ashley was a great person to talk to about that, because she has so many Good Charlotte tattoos. So cool.
She does, yes.
So, Alissa, now we're on to one of my favorite parts of the show, where we critique how other people have critiqued Good Charlotte. We're gonna read some reviews. I will say before we start reading them that I was kind of surprised, but I was pleased that a lot of reviews actually mentioned specifically this song. You know, it's the closing song.
Yeah.
Pretty big contrast to the rest of the album in a lot of ways. So
yes.
I get it. It's relevant to mention. The reviews, it was not like a consensus. There was some differing opinions. So we're going to start with When the Horn Blows, which is a great blog. They have a lot of great insight. They said, thankfully, the final song of the album is slightly more upbeat in both tone and meaning, despite being primarily a heartfelt assurance to the brothers' children that they can always return to California. It is just as intimate to the listener, ending on an overwhelming feeling of hope. The song is full of reassurances and uplifting messages to all that life can and always will get better. And they ended, they said that none of the songs on the album are as instantly memorable as the anthem, but the album as a whole is tremendous. Listening to it in one sitting enables the listener to see the mental state of these revered rockers and feel closer to them than ever before. More importantly, Good Charlotte are able to offer support around any feelings of self-doubt or depression by reflecting those very same feelings in their music. I thought that was pretty well said.
Yeah.
When it's funny because like we had mentioned earlier in the show about how people kind of gravitate to older songs as their favorites because they've known them longer.
Mm-hmm.
What if this album had been the one you had been hearing for 16 years and then The Young and the Hopeless came out? What would you have said was the memorable one?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think about that all the time. Like, if you could take everything away, like you don't know anything about Good Charlotte and you say, okay, here's The Young and the Hopeless, here's Gen RX, and pick which one you like better. I mean, I think I would pick Gen RX, like real talk though. I know I'd probably get some hate from that, but I have the long-time association with Young and the Hopeless. Like obviously it means a lot for the longevity term, but man, Gen RX, dude, like that's the one for me. Like that's the album I always wanted from Good Charlotte.
Generation RX is my favorite to has been really fun for me to revisit because it came out and I liked it. And I listened to it because I interviewed Billy a few days before it came out. So I had listened to the album several times before it came out. I listened to it when it came out and then when I was going to see them the next month and everything. But after that, I kind of went back to a lot of the older stuff more. But now, as I'm doing the episodes on the Gen RX songs, I'm like, oh shit, this album is so great. InsertReviewHere.com. Great website. InsertReviewHere.com is website. They called it a classic, upbeat Good Charlotte ballad.
Yeah.
Well put, succinct. Here's one that we're gonna dig into a little bit, Alyssa, from the soundboardreviews.com. So this person seemed to like it, but they were also very critical. And it's probably one of the most thorough critiques I've read of this album. The whole review is pretty long. It's pretty detailed. But I think it's, as a fan, it's very easy to just write about music and be like, oh, I love this. This is amazing.
Right.
But I think it's also healthy and mature. And, that's what we hear on this show to be like, all right, here's an actual unbiased perspective.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you agree with it. But the soundboardreviews.com. And what's impressive about this album in particular is how thorough Good Charlotte are. This could have easily been a collection of self-flagellating misery and self-esteem anthems, and tracks like Cold Song and California do come dangerously close at points, but the execution feels so much more barbed and potent. Joel Madden is certainly not a powerhouse vocalist, but from the dips into harsher, almost screamed vocals in Self-Help and Shadowboxer, he is throwing himself in and embracing the turmoil and turbulence.
Yeah. Yeah. that heavier vocals from Joel, you know, with the screaming and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, me too. Well, I mean, we got a little bit of that, you know, on War from Youth Authority too. So this album we got even more, which, you know, it went in the right direction for me personally. I loved it.
Yeah, I want to read another bit from this review. He says, by the time the closer, California, the way I say I love you, comes around, they've reverted back to super clean acoustic lines that stand completely at odds with everything else. And for an album that only consists of 9 songs, a design choice as baffling as that can have much more of a negative impact. But considering the material that Good Charlotte have been putting out for the best part of a decade and where Generation RX falls into that lineage, this is easily the best album they've released in years, even with its flaws. So I don't know, what do you think, especially taking into consideration what we've read of this review, what do you think of them having like such a short album and ending it with like the one slow song like this?
I mean, personally, I'm like, oh yeah, I would have loved to have a longer album. I think everyone would. But at the same time, if you add more songs to this album and they don't fit and it's not,
right.
if it doesn't feel right, I mean, you got to respect that they ended it where they needed to.
Exactly.
And I think if they, listening to this album, if they would have ended it with anything other than California, it would have felt off. It comes, you know, right after Better Demons and Leech and all that. And those 2 songs are intense, very intense.
Yeah, Better Demons is very intense.
Yes. And then to just slam California in there and just say, oh, here it is. I love that. I honestly really do. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to have made the album 12 songs, they probably would have thrown in like a few more slower songs.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like the fact that it's the only slow song makes it stand out a little more.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not going to get away with a Good Charlotte album without a slow ballad.
Right.
Like that's not going to happen. So they're going to put it in this album. And even though the album is so short, I mean, it works. Like for people to say, oh, this is weird. It is weird, but it's different. And it makes sense though. Like it has to be in there.
Yes. And it's like, hey, we've just talked about like all the like tough stuff and the pain, but like now we're going to leave you.
Yes.
With some hope.
With that feeling. Yeah, definitely the feeling of hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Adobe said that ultimately Generation RX is an album laced with hope. There's a lot of anger and sorrow there, but from it comes a plea for change. That's why closing track, California, the way I say I love you, which marks a change of pace from the rest, will hit you the hardest in a different way. Love that.
Yeah.
Exclaim said that this song was out of pace. They said it was glaringly obvious that the Sunny song, though not bad, is out of place. But I think that gets into like, okay, are we wanting an album to all sound exactly the same?
Right.
Or are we wanting it to kind of paint a picture or tell a story?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does. It does tell the story. I mean, you could argue that, you know, this album is very much about self-reflection, looking in the mirror, mental health struggles. I mean, you could also argue that this song also is about looking at yourself as well, you know, not necessarily a child or a parent relationship, but
like
the person
you will always be there waiting for you.
You will be, and it could be
that's great.
Yeah, like it could be your old self talking to you, or you know, that kind of that idea of you are your own family, and you know, just I don't know, making it kind of what you want it to be.
Yeah, and I think also like you know, you can try different things, and you might fail at some of those.
Yeah.
But like you are still you. And you know, I had a lot of, I don't know if struggle is the right word, but there was like a lot of just back and forth mentally when I left the outlet, the website that I was writing for last fall, because it was like for 8.5 years, that was like all I had been doing was writing and photography. And like for the first time, I wasn't actively contributing to an outlet. And it was like, it was weird. And like people, I think a lot of people kind of didn't get it. It didn't get my decision. That's okay. They don't have to. But it was very weird. And I struggled a lot with like, if I leave, you know, this outlet, this, I'll say position, you know, I wasn't like getting paid for everything I was writing, but if I leave, if I stop doing this one thing, like, am I still me? Am I still a writer? Like, so there was a lot of thinking about it, but it's nice to have those moments. And from songs like this, where like, okay, yeah, I am. What, you know, in whatever way I'm expressing that, I'm still a writer. I'm still someone who pretty much the best way, the only way I really feel fulfilled in life is commenting on music in some way. And lately that has mostly been this podcast.
Yeah.
One more review I want to mention was from the overlyopinionated.com.
Oh, God.
So, like, okay. Back when I was little baby Molly that had not had, you know, almost a decade of music journalism under her belt, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, but I would, like, always read these reviews that were just mean. And I was like, I don't think I could ever write something like that. That being said, you know, look, you can share whatever opinion you want. I read this review and I was kind of like, okay, this doesn't even feel like you are trying to be critical. This is like, and I think this was a very popular attitude in the like music blogosphere at a certain point, and in some circles still is, though not as much anymore. But this idea that like I will look cooler or more important if I write something that's just very, very snarky. Anyway, y'all, okay. The only non-hateable song on the whole project is California, The Way I Say I Love You, which sounds like a yellow card ballad, but at least it doesn't have this life is super serious, man, my pain is real vibe to it. It's baffling why the fun-loving, quirky Good Charlotte we used to know made a screamo new metal album when they've never dabbled in this style of music. Okay, like, semi fair, because, yeah, like, why did they take on this style? But also, have you, like, actually listened to Good Charlotte's other material?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. First of all, I would quite enjoy hearing William Ryan Key cover this song.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
I'd be into it. I don't think he has any kids, but I'm sure he would have something. Although he would probably say, I don't know. I don't know if he lives in LA. I want to say he's from Florida, because I think Yellow Card originally, at least, are from Florida. So, like, yeah, as you can see, Alyssa, the critical response to this song was quite varied.
I mean, the fact that they called this a screamo new metal album, like, what? Like, no, it's Good Charlotte still. Like,
yeah, right.
Overly exaggerating should be their title. I mean, come on. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, I think, like, being like us, being diehard fans, we love it, right? And I think it's, like, valid to see what other people have to say about this.
Yeah.
Taking the, like, okay, I'm, like, very annoyed that someone is just being, like, extremely snarky and obnoxious and writing about Good Charlotte. I think this person is saying that, like, this song sounds kind of like a yellow card ballad, which I could totally hear. I could hear a yellow card version of this.
Yeah.
But the rest of the album is taking itself too seriously. And that Good Charlotte is kind of trying to do something musically that died out in 2007. And they also say that it doesn't have purpose or personality. I would disagree with the purpose because Generation RX thing, but if you didn't know what Generation RX meant or like that backstory, I don't think you would necessarily pick up that.
Yeah.
Like, I think you would pick up, okay, they're talking about like their feelings and mental health and self-reflection. I don't think you would necessarily pick up like opioid epidemic if you didn't. I mean, the title kind of gives it away, but like, you also could think, okay, whatever the title is, just the title.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm gonna assume this person like didn't know kind of like backstory on why they wanted to call it Generation RX and such, but you know, their thoughts are valid. Their tone is obnoxious though.
Yeah. Agreed.
You know, so Alissa, when I ask this question, it's a little different asking it about a new song like this versus something much older, but how has California, The Way I Say I Love You, held up for you over time?
It's definitely changed over time for me, even in the short time period that it's been out. Now, I'm in Indiana and I'm trying, I will be getting back to California in a couple months. And now, I have this family in Los Angeles and this sense of community and things like that. So now it's kind of, don't forget California. She's always there waiting for you. Like California's always going to be there for me, even though I have to deal with some stuff right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of heavy and hard. Like it's still very much a hopeful song for me. And that's, I think, over the short time that it's been out, it's always been a hopeful song. And now it's just kind of changed a little bit for me, but it's still the same.
I love that. So just a few questions I always like to ask to wrap things up, but what has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years and how has that changed?
Over the years, well, when I was a younger kid, they were very much like therapists, in a way, listening to the music, we didn't have therapy wasn't talked about at that young age and things like that. So to hear this music that was dealing with some of the issues that I was dealing with family issues and all that stuff. I mean, over all these years, that has stayed the same. There's always a album. There's always a song that I can go to and find when I am in times of need. So I could never thank them enough for that. I think all the Good Charlotte fans, I think, feel that way.
I love that. So do you have any last words about California, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself?
No, I'd really like to hear this song live sometime, preferably in California. I was hoping they were going to do it on the Gen RX American tour, but they didn't, sadly. But I would really, really love to hear this one live.
Yeah. I think this will be fun, but I get why they haven't. Like, it's a slow song, right?
Yeah.
Maybe pull it out on acoustic, or if they want to do like another Veep live stream.
Yes. A live, any type of live version. I mean, I'm not picky.
Yeah. All right. Before we head off, Alissa, we are doing a Generation GC and Friends playlist on Spotify, which has the songs that we talk about on the show, as well as recommendations from our guests. So can you leave me with a recommendation for our listeners?
I can. I have two bands that I have recently gotten into, and
Perfect.
I love them. They're women bands called Bones, but Bones UK because of the TV show. So if you're looking them up, it's Bones UK.
Okay.
And Nova Twins.
Okay. Can you give me a song from each of those?
Yeah. So Bones UK, I would probably say Girls Can't Play Guitar.
I love that song title.
Yep, it's a great one. And then for the Nova Twins, I would probably say Thelma and Louise.
All right. I'm excited to check them out. I've been making much more active effort lately to listen to more women in rock.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
They're killing it right now. So I'm very much into them these days.
Yeah. Well, Alissa, thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you on the internet?
I keep my socials on private, but
sure. You don't have to share them if you don't want.
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Sketch Queen.
Perfect.
And on Instagram, I'm at Alissa Gardner _.
Perfect. Well, Alissa, thank you for coming on the show. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Last week, we talked about life changes from Youth Authority. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from the band's self-titled album. My name's Molly. I've been your host. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, P-O-D, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes, rate it, leave a review, and tell all your friends. Tell your friends that love Good Charlotte to listen to this show because they're going to love it. Tell your friends that have never, ever listened to Good Charlotte to listen to this show, and it will get them to start listening to Good Charlotte. Thanks all for tuning in.